Right, thank you very much. Okay, so as I was saying, right, if you look at the 5 points of your story mountain, right, the first point is the introduction. And like your thumb, right, the introduction is very important because it helps you to grab things, helps you to grab the attention of your reader. What should be in your introduction? Two main things, your character and your setting. Am I right, everybody? Can you all remember? You must introduce who your characters are and where they are situated. That's your setting, okay? And your setting will be related to one of the letters, the L in Delta today. Okay, so it doesn't mean that the setting only appears in the introduction. It can also appear in the climax, and I'll show you how later. Okay, so introduction contains both setting and characters. Rising action, what is the most important thing that rising action always contains? Can you all mouth it to me? It always contains the problem, right? Yeah, I'm seeing that. Okay, very good. Just mouth it. I can see your faces, so I can see when you're mouthing the word. Okay, very good. So the word problem means that something must go wrong in your story, right? Because something goes wrong and then something gets fixed is the whole core of your story. So the rising action always contains the problem. Something goes wrong, okay? And then, of course, in this case, right, when something goes wrong, these three fingers are what we call the golden triangle, right? Something goes wrong, something gets worse, something gets better. This golden triangle, these three fingers that come together are where delta is going to take place today. And if you notice, right, my fingers are shaped in a triangle. My ring finger and my index finger are smaller than my middle finger. So they form a natural triangle. And if you know your Greek alphabet, delta actually is represented by the symbol of a triangle. Right? Did y'all know that? Delta is actually represented by the symbol of a triangle. Okay? So that's exactly what we are going to do today. We are going to explore how to use delta in the golden triangle, the climax area. Okay? So your rising action is the problem. Your climax is when your problem gets worse. And then, of course, your falling action is when the problem gets better. Something or someone solves the problem. And in the conclusion, you reflect on the whole story and you think about how you've learned certain lessons or exemplified certain values. Okay, so one more time. Introduction, setting and characters. Rising action, problem presents itself. Climax, problem gets worse. Falling action, problem gets better, solved by an object or solved by a person. And your falling action, your conclusion after your falling action is when the story ties up all the loose ends and you learn about the value or reflect on a lesson you have learned. This is your story mountain in a nutshell. Hold your hand up. Give me your thumb. Okay. This is the introduction. It's the most important finger, right? Because that's where you hook or grab your reader's attention, right? Next, your four fingers. Give me your four fingers. Okay. These four fingers, right, combined together will give you the main storyline itself, right? What's going to happen, what gets worse, what gets better, and the lessons you learn, these four fingers together will give you the bulk of your story. That's where most of your marks will live. But of course, the three fingers in the middle, give me your three fingers. This is like your scout pledge, right? These three fingers are the golden triangle, right? You will notice that one finger is taller than the other two, forming a natural triangle. This is a delta. Okay, and this delta is what we're going to learn about today, okay? We are going to apply the delta principle to make your rising action, climax, and falling action much more effective so that they become very, very powerful. And, you know, it's like a promise, right? A scout's promise to your reader that is going to be interesting. So they will continue reading. Okay, put your hands down. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so you get the idea, right? I'm trying to use your physical body and things to help you remember, because what you remember, you can apply. But if you don't remember it, right, and you rush into your writing, right, then a lot of things will be lost in translation. Between your head and the paper, a lot of things will be lost. Okay, so the delta and your fingers are there to help to remind you, even as you're writing, that you must have every element of the story mountain, and the delta must be the most important, and you promise to make your reader engaged and interested in your story. Okay, so let's get on with it. Any questions so far? All good? Okay, I'm very happy to see that all your cameras are on and you're all attentive and your eyes are focused on the screen. That's very good. Please keep it up. Okay, we are going to go breakneck speed. Remember, after this, you can always replay this recording and slow it down if you need to go to a particular area you're not sure of. Okay, Adele, please turn on your camera at all times, please. Thank you. You should not turn off your camera for any reason whatsoever. I remind all of you, I'm monitoring you through the cameras. Please do not turn it off. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, if I have to call you out, then it interrupts the recording and I have to edit later. So please do not do what I asked you specifically not to do, right? I just spent 10 seconds, right, berating Adele, and now I have to edit the video later in order for it not to contain this segment when I sent it out. Okay, so please cooperate with me. Keep your cameras on at all times. If you need to go to the washroom, just excuse yourself. Go ahead. You don't need to tell me. Then come back. But your camera must remain on at all times. All right. Okay, let's go. So again, I don't need to tell you that stories are more important than facts because stories are remembered and facts get lost. Do you all agree with that? Okay, you can still remember the story of Little Red Riding Hood, right? You can still remember the story of the Big Bad Wolf, right? These are stories, they stick in your mind. But facts, like, you know, how many people there are in Singapore, you know, what's the temperature yesterday, these things are not so easily remembered, okay? So if you want someone to remember something, you always tell them a story, right? Like, you know, when Mr. Pang wants to tell you a story, I will tend to tell you something that's interesting, piques your attention, so you all lean forward and want to know more. So the story, the narrative is very powerful. Why are you learning how to write stories, right? Why are you learning how to write a narrative in primary school and not in secondary school? Because the narrative is the most important and powerful way you can communicate, right? Telling stories helps people to remember things, okay? And so that's why a story is more memorable, it connects with the emotions, and it impacts your readers the most. That's why we are learning how to write stories, okay? So today, we are going to learn how to improve our stories using this thing called the Delta framework. Remember your 3 fingers as a way to anchor the Delta framework. The first, middle, and third finger, are going to be the fingers that help you remember your Delta, okay? Now, Delta stands for dialogue, emotions, location, thoughts, and actions. Do you need me to explain any of that? Don't need, right? You know what dialogue is, right? It's the verbal exchange between 2 or more characters. Okay? Wei Yuk, are you paying attention? Please keep your eyes on the screen at all times. Thank you very much. Okay, so your Delta starts with your dialogue. Your E is your emotions, right? Your character's feelings, right? As they're expressed through their dialogue or through their actions. So the emotions of your character must be clearly visible to your reader. If you don't tell your reader or show your reader will not know how your character is feeling because your reader cannot read your mind, can only read your paper. Everybody mouth after me. The reader cannot read my mind. He can only read my paper. Yep. Yep. So please remember this mantra. The reader cannot read my mind. The reader can only read my paper. So whatever you don't write on your paper does not exist for the reader. Do you understand what I'm saying, everybody? And if it doesn't exist for the reader, then the reader will not credit you or recognize you for it. Even if it's in your mind, you can have the most vivid imagination, but if you don't show the emotions of your characters, then the reader will not understand what you are trying to communicate. So the dialogue and the emotions will give me a clear picture of what's happening inside of my character so that I know how they are feeling at all times. Is that clear? Ruel, do you understand what I just said? Okay, so now when we talk about dialogue and emotions, right? This is something else. The next one is location. Why is location important? Why is location important? Why did I suddenly insert location in the middle of Delta? Okay, I'm talking about dialogue, okay, is what the characters say. I'm talking about emotions, is what the characters are feeling. But then suddenly I'm not talking about the character anymore. I'm talking about the location. Can anyone tell me why location is in Delta? Why is location connected with all these other things that the character is thinking and feeling and doing and all of that? Why is location right in the middle? Anyone? What role does location play, right, in the golden triangle? Kila?
It's like it will tell you when, like example, if someone is in a dark alley, they will feel scared.
Okay, very good. You connected that with your emotions, right, Kayla? Very good. So locations can influence emotions, right? Can the locations also influence the thought of your character? Yes, right? If your character's in a dangerous situation, they will think differently than if they were in a safe location. If your character's in a scary place, they will think differently than if they were in a very, very safe and secure place, right? So your emotions and your actions, as well as your thoughts and your words, are affected by the location. Okay, so it's very important that you choose the right location for your climax to happen. Okay, it must be relevant to the theme. If I'm writing about an unfortunate incident in school, then where would be a good location to situate my climax where this unfortunate or or unlucky or bad incident happens, where would be a good location? Any suggestions? And maybe give me a reason why you would choose that. Anyone? Just pitch in and give me a suggestion for a location in the school that might play a good backdrop to my climax of an unfortunate incident in school. Where in the school would be a good location? Let's have Rinel. What do you think? Rinel, can you please unmute and give me your thoughts?
Canteen.
Canteen? Why would you choose the canteen and maybe not say the classroom or something like that? Why the canteen? I'm not saying you're wrong. You're right. Why is it wrong? Why is it?
Like sometimes maybe like two students bump into each other and spill their food.
Okay, very good. So you've got the potential for hot food, right? Okay, that might cause the problem to become even worse. Am I right? So I'm thinking ahead, and I'm thinking about what is the best location where my story can take place so that the problem can become even worse, right? So in the case of a canteen, there's a lot of hot food. There's a lot of people walking around. The potential for an accident and a serious one is greater. Do you all agree with me? If I compare classroom versus canteen, right? And if I'm writing about an unfortunate incident, especially if the picture shows someone hurt, right? Then the canteen has more potential. What is another place beside a canteen where injuries are more common than the classroom? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to call you if you don't raise your hands. Okay, Kai-En, what do you think? Besides the canteen, what other location might be more accident prone?
In the field.
Okay, in the field. Why do you think that's the case?
Because there are a lot of there will be rocks or grass that you might trip.
Okay, right. And you are also engaging in more active lifestyle. Am I right in the field? Right? In the class, you might be seated and more safe, right? But in the field, you're moving around. And so the potential for tripping and falling, like Kai-En said, the grass, maybe some equipment, the potential is higher. So again, choosing the right location is crucial. That's why it's right in the middle of the delta. Okay, I'm sorry, Kayla and Reagan, can you please put your hands down? Thank you very much. Okay, so I've covered dialogue, emotions, and location. Any questions so far? No, right? So remember, the location that you started the story, introduction, may not be the location you find in the climax. Do you get what I mean, everybody? So the location will change. Why? Because the climax will require something that allows me to make the story get worse. And if I begin in the classroom, I may not want to stay in the classroom, right? I may want to shift my setting over to the canteen or to the field in order to make my story more exciting and the problem much bigger. Remember, go big or go home, right? Your problem must be big enough to write about, okay? Then next is your thoughts. Now, this one, many of you are very confused, okay? So let me clarify. When your character is thinking, do you need open and close inverted commas? Anyone? Do you need open and close inverted commas when your character is thinking? That means, oh no, I'm in trouble now. Let's say your character thinks that, right? Oh no, I'm in trouble now. Ruel, what do you think? Why? No, I want you to try. The shoulder shrug is not an acceptable response in my classroom.
Maybe because it used for dialogue only.
Okay, so you're saying that your thoughts are not dialogue. So what's the difference between a thought and a dialogue? Aiden, will you want to try this? What's the difference between your thought and your dialogue? Go on, Aiden.
Thought is like you think to yourself, like you're talking to yourself, but then dialogue is like sometimes you're talking to other people, then they know what you're thinking and saying, but then for thought, it's only you that knows.
Okay, so crucial distinction, right? Your thoughts are your own, but your speech is someone else. Do you agree with me, right? When you think in your head, you're thinking to yourself, right? is to yourself, right? But when you speak, you're always speaking to someone, right? That you shouldn't be speaking to yourself, right? Usually, normally, characters don't talk to themselves, okay? They think to themselves, but they talk to others. So anytime, I want you to think, anytime it goes out of your mouth, right, going out, you must use the open and close inverted commas. It's like breath. That's the open and close inverted commas is like breath, okay? When you use your breath to say something, you must have speech marks. But when you think in your head, are you using your breath? No, right? Your mouth stays shut, right? Everything happens within this cortical stem, within your head. So anything inside your head, you don't need speech marks because it's not coming out of you. Inside, no speech marks. Outside, must use speech marks and use a comma and your open close inverted commas. Everybody clear, everybody? Any questions? So from now on, when you're thinking something, do I need to see any speech marks? No, I don't. Okay? If I see speech marks, then that means you're talking to yourself. Okay? But try not to do that, right? Try to use internal thoughts for your character. And the giving characters internal thoughts helps because it helps the reader look into the head of the character. Only you can do that, right? The reader cannot do that. The reader can only guess, but you can tell. You can tell the reader what the character is thinking of at any point in your story. And the climax is the most important part, okay? And finally, of course, actions, right? The most important thing in the climax is the action. What your character does. Adele, are you okay? Any questions so far? No, So your actions are what you do, right? And what you do is very important in the climax. Your golden triangle must contain lots and lots of actions. Actions are verbs. Verbs and adverbs, okay, are going to appear a lot in your golden triangle. And you need to make sure that you populate enough verbs, right, in your framework. Okay, so let's go a little bit into detail, right? So dialogue. When do you use dialogue? When do you use dialogue? Okay, when do you use dialogue? This is a very important question. Okay, Martin, you want to tell me when do you use dialogue? And I'll get to do well after this, and Renelle after that. Yeah.
We use dialogue when characters speak.
That's not an answer, actually. Can anyone tell me when I use dialogue? Obviously, when characters speak, I use dialogue. But when do I give the characters the right to speak? Do I have them speaking all the time? Do you think that's a good idea? No, right? Not at all, right? Because it's not a script. This is actually a story. It's a story, not a script, remember. So excessive dialogue is actually bad for a narrative, okay? So I don't just let the characters talk as and when they want to. I only capture, but what? What is it that makes me decide? Stephanie, what do you think?
When they express how they are feeling,
Okay.
or like in a climax.
Right? So in a climax, right, you want to reveal your character's feelings, but you don't want to say it, right? You don't want to say, he felt sad, right? Then you can use dialogue to express that emotion, right? You know, I'm terribly disappointed that I didn't get that job, right? Father said, for example, okay? So terribly disappointed can reveal the internal feelings of your character through the dialogue. That's one reason why I might have dialogue. Any other reasons? Besides revealing the character's feelings, what else can I reveal about the character? Through the character's words. What else can I reveal? Kayla?
What they are thinking.
Okay, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Okay, what else? I'm looking for something else. Renelle?
When they want to say something important.
Okay, I could use the dialogue to focus the attention of the reader on something that's important, right, in the story. Good, that's good, but that's not what I'm looking for either. So I recap, your thoughts, your feelings, and focusing on what's important. That's the only time you use dialogue. You don't use dialogue for any random thing like, oh, good morning, mom, I'm going to brush my teeth now. Okay, that is not a good use of dialogue. Everybody agree with me? Okay, I don't need for the character to speak at that point, right? Of course, the character is going to brush his teeth. I don't need to know that through dialogue. But I reveal the feelings of the character through the dialogue. I reveal the thoughts of the character through the dialogue. And I can also reveal what's important to the character through the dialogue. But the most important thing, okay, tied to the last paragraph, is your character's values, right now, boys and girls, right? If the character keeps saying mean and nasty things, can I know what the character is like from what the character says? Right? If a person keeps on saying mean and nasty things, what kind of a person, what kind of character do you think that person has? Anyone? Very easy, right? Anyone? Quick. Can you give me a word to describe a person that constantly says mean and nasty things? Anyone? Okay, Martin, go ahead.
When they are, one way is, I think,
Okay, Kyan, go ahead.
Rude. Rude.
Sorry?
Rude.
Sorry? Say
Rude.
again.
Rude.
Rude, R-U-D-E, is it?
Yeah.
Rude, okay, yeah, you could say he is a rude person. Nishan?
When he's a bully.
He could be a bully, right? Thank you. Helen?
I was gonna say the same thing as Ishan.
Okay, so he could be a bully, he could be a bad guy. Okay, good. Right. So can you conclude a person's character from the things that he or she says? Can, right? So I recap again. The character can reveal who they are based on what they say. The character can also show you, right, that they are believable. That means they are human, right? They show you their emotions, their thoughts, right? And because you know what they're thinking and how they feel, it becomes very easy for you to believe that they are real, even though they're not, right? They are made up by your writer, right? But because they are so interesting and human, they have thoughts and feelings, you can believe that they exist, and therefore you are engaged in the story itself. Okay, so very important to create believable stories. Okay, and using this particular character, this particular element of dialogue is very important. Okay, why? Because it actually allows us to hear the character's voice. Okay, and of course, once you have the character saying something, right, you can always have what he says and what he means. Okay, inferring what is said versus what is meant by the character. So that introduces a lot of complexity and interesting elements to your story. The character can say something but mean something else. Do you all remember we talked about sarcasm and irony? Okay, so can your character be sarcastic? Can, right? Yeah, your character can say something but mean something else entirely. So dialogue opens up a lot of possibilities for you to reveal what the character is thinking and saying and feeling, right? And ultimately can also lead to them doing something. Okay, they may say something that may lead to their actions. Okay, so dialogue is very important. Okay, next is your emotions. Okay, can you see that emotions have different effects on your reader? Okay, you look at this chart here, you will see that if your story is very happy, right, then it will make your reader want to read through to the end because your reader feels connected to your characters. If your story is full of anger, right, then your reader is going to look out for conflict. Something is going to happen, right? It's like a signpost pointing to something about to happen that's not very good, anger, right? Whereas sadness could build a sense of sympathy in your reader, right? As you know, you're a person following the story, I might feel sorry for the character. Okay, I might feel sorry for the character. Okay, Wei-Yuk, can you please focus on the lesson? Thank you. Right, and then of course, when you talk about fear, right? Fear can create tension, okay? There could be some kind of, you know, like, what's going to happen next, you know? Is the story going to develop in a direction that's going to be more scary? So fear can create expectation, tension, right? Of something that's bad that's about to happen, much like anger does, okay? So negative emotions tend to create a sensation of expectation for something bad to happen. Happy emotions or positive emotions tend to create a sense of empathy and connection with the readers. Okay, so that's something for you all to keep in mind, right? When you put emotions into your characters, it makes the story more interesting for these reasons. Okay, right. Next. Okay, you all know show not tell. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I'll just let you all read what's on the slide. Okay. So remember here that your location also affects the mood. Okay, so if you want to create a good mood, then you want your weather and your setting to mirror that good mood. If you want to create something that's a bit more fearful, tense, or scary, right, then you might want to create an environment or a location that mirrors that as well. Okay, and we've done that before in class, so I guess you all should remember it. Okay, so next, right, we talked about location already, so I shall not go too far into it. I already talked about how it's very important. You all notice the picture is a picture of like a very creepy looking house, right? Okay, it's in the middle of a, you know, dark and foggy forest, right? Now, I'm sure you all can see that this setting lends itself to a certain kind of story. Am I right? Okay, so again, setting painted by your words is very powerful to set the story on the right track. And here, please try to be a bit more focused. From the beginning, if you know your story is going to be happy, right? It's going to be end in a positive note, then you want to build a location that reflects that. Likewise, okay, if it's going to be sad, tragic, or, you know, scary, then you want to build a location that can be reflective of that, okay? So it shapes your experience. It gives you the sensory immersion, meaning your 5 senses are engaged in the location, and it makes it easier for your character to feel certain emotions or do certain things when the location is right, okay? So building the right location is very much like building the correct house for your characters to live in. Okay, if it suits them, then it's very nice. If it doesn't, then your characters may not enjoy it so much, and then the reader will not enjoy it either, okay? So very important to have the right location for your story, okay? And some things to help you with is to think about the senses, okay? Now, how does your reader feel? How does your reader hear? How does your reader see? And how does your reader sense the surroundings in the story, right? Build it with a lot of sensory verbs, right? Sensory verbs like taste, smells, textures, right? Sights. These will help your reader to understand the story and be immersed in it better, okay? Right, so not much new that's here. Thoughts, okay, I already mentioned, okay? Thoughts are like the inner dialogue. You're thinking to yourself, right? And you give your readers more of this, your readers will tend to understand your character more and build a connection with your character, okay? So always remember, when you get to the climax, right, start to think of your delta. Dialogue, emotions, right? Location, right? And then your thoughts, and finally, your actions. What does your character do after he thinks and says and feels that way? Okay, what does your character do within that climax? Okay, so this is a good checklist. Some of you are telling me, and actually I've given you feedback, oh, my climax not very good. I didn't develop enough. I don't know what to write. I'm running out of things to say. Then use the delta. Even if you only have 5 sentences, right, you will have added another 3 or 4 sentences to your existing climax. Okay, so delta gives you a bit of a checklist. So did I have dialogue in my climax? Did I have emotions clearly shown through the dialogue or the actions of the character? Do I have a suitable location, and have I described that location, right? Do I, excuse me, do I have the thoughts, right? Do my character's thoughts become visible to the reader? And finally, are my character's actions consistent with the thoughts and emotions and all of what I just mentioned, okay? So use this as a bit of a checklist, okay? Now for thoughts, there are internal thoughts and there are external thoughts, okay? But basically we're just dealing with internal thoughts, okay? So something that the thoughts must be aligned with the theme. So if I'm writing about an unpleasant or unfortunate situation, then my thoughts must be, you know, oh, how unlucky I am, you know, oh, what did I do to deserve this? You know, something like that, right? Your thoughts must mirror the theme that we are covering, okay? And of course, actions, we already know about this, not too much. Okay, so we want to craft meaningful actions, okay? Now the actions can speak louder than words. Have you heard me say this before, right? Actions speak louder than words. So in other words, right, your actions, the character's actions, right, can sometimes show their character and show their intentions much better than their words. Okay, so if you don't want to have all the dialogue, right, the other way to express your character's inner world, values, and thoughts is through their actions. Okay, what do they do in that situation? And those actions must be consistent with the theme of your story. Always come back to the theme, being thoughtful, being considerate, unfortunate incident, right? Helping someone. The theme will always determine what your character's actions should be in the climax. And remember, in the climax, the problem gets worse. So your character must do something about it, okay? Or your character must do something to make it worse. And then maybe do something to make it better. So all these are actions that follow through the golden triangle, the delta. Okay, so the delta, A is last but is not least. It's the most important. A the location leading up to the action A is very important. And it's not coincidental that A also looks like the delta. Okay, so A, your actions are very important to make sure that the story moves to end at the end of the entire series. Okay, so again, this is the summary. Take a look at it. Okay, this is your checklist. Whenever you come to your climax, when you're writing the story, always ask yourself, do I have dialogue? Are my characters' emotions clear? Is my location suitable to the theme? Are my thoughts of the character clearly expressed so that my readers can understand? And have I put in enough actions to show through actions speaking louder than words what my character is like and how my character's actions tie up with the theme and the picture I have chosen? Okay? Clear, everybody? Okay, so now we do a little bit of practice, okay? We practice verbally how we would construct using delta, right? And how we would inject delta into a story, okay? So we've talked about this. We already know this, right? Okay, we've done this before, okay? Okay, so let's choose, okay? I give you all a chance to vote, okay? I have 5 themes, you all vote on one theme, okay? I will show you in sequence, then you all just decide which theme you want to work on for the next 10 minutes before we end the lesson, okay? Right? Just another 8 to 10 minutes more and we're done already. Good job, everybody. Okay. This is Theme 1, Unexpected Friendship. Theme 2, Challenging Competition. Theme 3, Memorable School Excursion. Theme 4, Surprising Discovery. Right? And Theme 5, An Act of Kindness. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, can? Now, can you all please message your favorite theme? Then I will look at the number with the highest score and then I will choose that theme to work on. Okay. Thank you. I'm seeing all your votes. Awesome. Okay, it looks like 4 is in the lead. Okay, looks like 4 is in the lead quite clearly, as y'all can see. Okay, so 4, a surprising discovery. Okay, okay. Let me just confirm. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. Okay, I've got 15 that choose 4, which means that 4 is obviously the winner because we in total only have 28. Okay, so looking at the numbers, right? 15 is the clear winner here. So we're going to do theme number 4. Okay, we're going to do theme number 4. So theme number 4, if I look at these 3 pictures, right? A surprising discovery. First of all, which picture do you think has the most potential for a problem? Remember, always judge the picture selection by the potential for how big of a problem it can present you. So out of these 3 pictures, right, which picture do you think has potential for the greatest problem? Can you all vote again? 1, 2, or 3? Okay, go ahead and type what you think has the biggest potential for problem. Okay, very good, thank you. I'm seeing your votes. Thank you very much. Okay, again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. That's 8, 4, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 for 1. Okay, very good. Okay, 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we've got a tie between 1 and 2. Okay, so 1 and 2 seem to be quite popular, right? Between the 2, I agree with you, right? Out of the 3, right, I would say that 1 and 2 are easier to write because 3 looks like they are looking through some archaeological dig, right? Or they're going through something that they dug up, right? So this one might not be so familiar to any of you. I don't know how many of you have actually gone and dug around for something, right? So that might not be so familiar. Whereas 1 and 2 appear to be a bit more familiar. 1 is a box, obviously. We've just done a composition on a box, right? An unpleasant surprise, right? Okay, so that's familiar. The box could contain anything that's surprising. And then the hidden path, it looks like, they're walking through some kind of old collection of buildings, right? That might potentially also have some problems. Very good. Now, can you all tell me, the word surprising, right? Do you think it is a positive or a negative or a neutral term? When I say surprising, is surprising positive, negative, or neither positive nor negative? Which one? Okay, so if you think it's positive, maybe give me a thumbs up. If you think it's negative, maybe a thumbs down. If you think it can be positive or negative, give me a lateral thumb like this. Yeah, okay, very good. Okay, yeah, very good. Excellent. Thank you. I'm very glad to see that most of you think that it's neutral. Yes, indeed, it is neutral. Okay, a surprise can be positive or negative. It doesn't have to be positive. Many of my students often say, oh, it's very positive. Surprise is always good. Is a surprise always good? No, right? Yeah. It could be a horrifying surprise, right? It could be a shocking surprise, right? So a surprise can go either way. In which case, right, I would say that the first picture is more suitable. Am I right? Because the box can contain either a good thing or a bad thing, right? It's easier to write in terms of the first picture. So again, now I'm going to center my story around a surprising discovery that is in a box that I discovered. Okay, so where I discovered this box must be stated. Cannot just suddenly randomly have a box appear in front of you, right? So you must have some backstory to this box, okay? So if I'm talking about an old box, right? Maybe I discovered this box at home. It could be at home or in school, right? Maybe I discovered it in an attic. By the way, do you all know what's an attic? Okay, yeah, okay, good. Some of you, I don't know, have you all done the Stella Text Heartbeats in the Dark? Have you all done? Remember Heartbeats in the Dark? It's about this boy Darren, da-da-doom. He likes to play the drum. Then he goes over to his cousin's house, and then his sister is being born in the hospital while he's staying overnight with his cousin. And then the cousin knows he's afraid of the dark, right? Then locks him in an attic without a light, or rather puts him in the attic and then takes the light away. You all remember that story? Right? He leaves, the cousin Bess leaves him in the attic and then takes away the light. And then his heart starts pounding very quickly like the drum. Ba-da-doom, da-da-doom, right? Yeah, the attic is the highest building or the highest room in the building. And it's often used to store things that you don't use or don't want, right? You put it all the way up in the attic, right? And you leave it there and it's all dusty and it's all like, covered in sheets and everything is kind of like old and creepy, okay? So that's kind of that could be the setting, right? Remember, the location of your story is very important, right? So you want to set it up in a location. Now, if I put this story in an attic filled with old, dusty furniture covered in sheets, and it's dark and it's dingy and it's dim, what kind of story, what kind of surprise do you think I'm setting you up for? Is it positive or negative? Yeah? How many of you think it's negative? Yeah, right? Can you sense from the location that it's going to be negative? Okay. But if I bring this box down to my bright, airy, and cheerful living room, right? And I'm surrounded by my family members as I, open up the box. Can you see that it becomes a more positive experience already? Okay. So the emotions, right? The emotions that you elicit from the location, very important. So don't ignore the location. Location, very important. The setting is very important. Okay, so delta. Okay, so now I come to the climax. The climax is when I open the box. Am I right? Okay, so what kind of emotions might go through my character before opening the box? Right, so I'm talking about the E in delta. What kind of emotions might go through my character before opening the box? Martin?
Curious.
Curiosity, good, thank you. I'm feeling curious. Anybody has a different feeling? Stephanie?
Nervous.
Nervous? Okay, very good, because I don't know what's in it. So there's curiosity, there's nervousness. Renelle?
Excitement.
Excitement, right? Maybe, there's something very heavy in the box. I'm thinking it's treasure, or it could be something precious, right? So excitement, nervousness, curiosity. Good, let's do these three. Now, what might I say that will express any of these three emotions? Anyone? What might I say, right, to express the emotions of curiosity, nervousness, or a sense of excitement? Anyone? What might my character say to maybe the mother or say to the brother, right, before opening the box, to express this idea of either nervousness, curiosity, or a sense of excitement? Anyone? What might my character say? It's quite easy, right? Come on, you can do this. Kaylan?
I wonder what's in the box.
Okay, good, right? I wonder what's in the box, you know? I can't wait to open the box, right? Now, I wonder what's in the box. What emotion does that conjure up for you, Kaylan? I wonder what's in the box. What emotion?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. Very good. And then I can't wait to open the box. What emotion does that elicit? Is it also curiosity? Not quite, right? Something different, right? When I say I can't wait, what emotion am I conjuring up? Rinel?
Excitement.
Excitement. Okay, right. I can't wait to open up the box. I wonder what's inside. If I combine the two of them together, right? If I tell my mother, I can't wait to open the box, I wonder what's inside. Can you see excitement and curiosity happening here? Okay, so when I combine dialogue together and I use it, right, I'm showing you, not telling you. I'm showing you that the character is feeling excitement and curiosity. So this is where dialogue is meaningfully used. Do you all get it? This is an example of D and E together in Delta. The dialogue expressing the emotions of the character. So far, so good, everybody? And then the location, I already told you, right, is, let's say it's in a bright family room, okay? I brought the box down from the attic, I put it on the dining table, and everybody in the family is gathered around. Okay, so it's going to be a happy story, right? Because we are in a bright, cheerful living room, we are surrounded by our family members, and then like Kaylan said, and then I added, right? I say something to the effect of, oh, you know, I'm so excited about this parcel I found in the attic. I can't wait to see what's inside. I'm showing curiosity, I'm showing excitement. Okay, so now I've done DE, and then I've kind of talked about L. What kind of thoughts might run through my mind as I am looking at the box? What kind of thoughts? And I don't want to repeat my dialogue, right? I want to think something different. Right? So what might my internal thoughts be? Kayla?
What is inside?
No, again, I don't want to repeat what I just said. I already said that, you know, I wonder what's inside. I can't wait to see it, right? I already said it. Now my thoughts, my thoughts are going to run wild, right? I'm going to imagine, right? So what am I imagining? Okay, what am I imagining that will not repeat what I said out loud? Because I want to add more information, right? I don't want to repeat my thoughts and my words, what I say at the same time. I don't want to repeat it. What might I be thinking? Reagan?
Is it a good surprise or a bad surprise?
Okay, what's I wonder if it's going to be good or bad. Okay, right? Kailan, do you have something different? No? Okay, or you might think, you know, this could be treasure, right? Maybe it's a box of jewels, right? So I could be thinking or speculating or imagining what is in the box. Do you all agree with me? Does it make sense to you? Wouldn't you do that too? Before you open the box, you'll be thinking, you know, I wonder what's inside, you know? Could be like, it could be this, it could be that. So your verbal communication with your parents might be, I wonder what's in the box. I can't wait to open it. Then you think to yourself, wow, this could be, you know, grandpa's secret stash of jewels and money. I might be rich, right? I might become, you know, the next millionaire. You know, all these things can run through your mind. So remember, a million thoughts ran through my mind. Have you all been taught this phrase before? Some of your teachers might have taught you, right? A million thoughts ran through my mind. So you can actually write down what those thoughts are. Okay. Yeah, so your mind is flushed with wild guesses. Yes, Aiden, you could use that. But I would like to hear some of these guesses, right? So my mind was filled or flushed with wild guesses. It could be a treasure chest or a stash of money from grandpa, right? You must give me some details, okay? So always remember to add information and details through your thoughts. So we've done D, we've done E, we've covered L, and we've gone into thoughts. Now, what is the action that will come very naturally out of me thinking and saying all the things I just thought and said? What's my next action going to be? Quite obvious, right? What am I going to do next? right? Regan, what am I going to do next?
Open the box.
Right, open the box, right? And how I open the box will be determined by how I feel. If I'm feeling very nervous, or I'm feeling very excited, will it affect the way I open the box? Right? When you open the box nervously and you open the box excitedly, is it different? Yes, right. So you see, I use my emotions to affect my action. If I'm very nervous, right, I don't know what's inside, right? Do you think I'll just open it like that? No, right? Not possible, right? How would I open it if I'm nervous and uncertain about what is inside? Maybe there might be something dangerous inside. How would I open it? Anyone, please? Someone? Kylan, how would I open it? Carefully, gingerly, right? Cautiously, with trepidation, right? All these are good words you can use to describe the manner in which you're opening. So adverbs are very powerful. You don't just say, I opened it, right? You say, I opened it cautiously, or I opened it gingerly, unsure about what I might see. Okay, so there's this sense of answer. Or excited would be like, I couldn't wait, right? So I grabbed the handle and I flung it open. Okay, so if I'm excited and I'm not scared at all, I will open it in a very quick and abrupt manner because I can't wait to see what's inside. Okay, and here, when you open the box, is where you can actually then talk about what you think about what you see in the box, right? What you see inside the box, what kind of emotions might follow it. So if I'm writing a happy story and I find something very pleasant, what are my emotions going to be? When I open it and I see, wow, maybe I see, a pile of jewels, or I see, stacks of money, or I see something beautiful like a vase, an antique vase. What kind of emotions might I have, right? Can you all see? Every step of the way, I'm slowing the action down and I'm using delta to build in dialogue, emotions, location, thoughts, as well as actions. Yes, Stephanie, did you raise your hand?
That made me happy.
Okay, it made you happy, right? So again, do you think happy is a good word to use? Always remember, your identity now is a 5th grade or primary 5 student, and you want to use slightly elevated vocabulary to signify the fact that you have gone beyond basic vocabulary like happy and sad. So what might be some good words I can use to express my happiness at identifying this thing or finding this thing in front of me? Zinel?
Overjoyed.
Overjoyed, right? That's one good. Not just joyful, but overjoyed. Yes, Kylan? Elated, right? Very good. Regan?
I wanted to say the same as Kylan.
Okay. Martin?
If you're happy and when you open it, it's like something that you always wanted. You would.
Thank you. Ruel?
Delighted.
Delighted. Okay, but delighted is also quite basic, okay? So think of things like ecstatic, elated, overjoyed, right? And then you can even use a simile, right? Okay, like a dog with 2 tails or something like that. Okay, I was happy like a dog with 2 tails, right? You could use a simile or a metaphor, okay? Any questions so far, everybody? All good? Do y'all kind of understand how to use delta? Okay, so what I want y'all to do is to pay close attention to the climax, to stretch out the climax using delta. Okay, so that's kind of the purpose for today. I'm going to end it here because I have another Zoom session taking place at 11. At 11 o'clock, please check in SLS for your assignment link to this. I will send you the PowerPoint slides in the assignment as well so that you can refer to it in case you're not really sure about how to use delta. Is everybody okay? Okay, I'm sorry for the abrupt ending, but we're running a little bit over time. So thank you very much. Do take some time to revise what we've covered so far. And I'll tell you all more about it tomorrow when we meet in school. Okay, you don't have to finish the assignment by today, right? But you can maybe get started on it and save it as draft first. Okay, thank you, everybody. That's all.
Bye, Mr. Pang.
Goodbye, people.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, people.